Hello and welcome to AI Live. I am Wayne Sachs. I'm a partner solutions architecture leader here at AWS, and we're here to talk about all things generative AI and agentic AI and AI with our partners. And I'm here joined with my co-host Dalian. Hey, Dalian, how are you doing?
Hey, Wayne, good to be here. And we had a special surprise by our producer, Jeffrey. Good to see you, Jeffrey. Hey, folks, my name is Dalian Ayekpour. I'm a senior technical account manager here at AWS, supporting customers in the travel and hospitality space and also working with customers on AI projects. And as you know, 2025 has definitely been a year of advancement in the AI field, a lot of great announcements. And it was great seeing you coming out of reInvent a couple weeks ago from the great Las Vegas. I see you even brought something back home with you. So
That's right. That's right. It was really fun seeing you too. It's always a pleasure to get to do the show live and in person. Obviously, reInvent is like a spectacle. That's probably the best way of describing it. And yeah, and it was like really fun to see all the announcements, to talk with the partners, to talk with customers, and to see kind of like all of it come to life, like for real, as opposed to just sort of like talking about it regularly as we always do. And clearly, I don't know about you, but it feels like the list of things that we did as Amazon and we did as partners, like is uncountable across the year. I don't know. It's a lot happened.
for sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely been a busy year for AI. A lot of announcements, and it's crazy to think of just the announcements that were made at just a couple weeks ago, right? Like, there's been crazy announcements throughout the year. I believe MCP just hit its year anniversary back in November, and from there, right, Agentic's kind of just exploded throughout 2025. So to see all those, how they come together, and some of the announcements that AWS made, as well as our partners, was great to see in person. And I think that's something we should dive into on today's episode. So I think we have a few extra special guests for this first segment to help us talk about some of these new announcements and the latest and greatest in agentic AI. So without further ado, shall we bring on our first guests?
I think we should. Hello, good friends, Perzot and Brian. How are you?
We're doing great. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. It's great to have the both of you. We have actually never done this before, like the four of us, here in one place. It's great. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Brian, you go first, and then Perzot, so anybody who's new doesn't wonder who we're talking about.
My name is Brian Terry. I'm a senior partner solution architect here at AWS, and an occasional co-host on this channel.
Yeah, and I'm Perzot Awasthi, and I am a senior partner solution architect at AWS, specializing in migration modernization, and also an occasional co-host with Brian. I have hosted the show with Dalian, and this is the first time hosting the show with Wayne.
Which is great. I'm glad that we have
one big happy family here today. I love it.
That's right. So today we've got about 30 minutes, and now we're down to 25 because we chat too much. So we got about 25 minutes to talk about all of the things. We should be as detailed and as exhaustive as humanly possible. So we should aspire to cover every single launch, every single advancement that we at AWS and our partners have done in generative AI in the year 2025.
Oh, yeah.
Brian, go. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah.
But I think we did a couple things, right? Like there was a lot that happened this year. I think when we came into this year, if anything, we were probably still talking more about models than anything else. And how that tone has shifted.
Absolutely. I mean, we've gone from like just using AI chatbots early on to now doing agents, now doing multi-agent orchestration, releasing new models, and now everything is just, the whole world just turned upside down.
Yeah.
Perzot, what about you? Anything that really like sings out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking about models, so while everybody's focused on building these large, enormous models, we kind of did a slightly different approach and, brought a model which is called Nova Forge. Now, what this model really do is basically it allows you to bring your own enterprise specific data, and you can use that data while the model is getting trained. So, which the outcome of that is the model which is highly contextualized to your enterprise data, right? So you're no longer using RAG or fine tuning as a technique. You are you're pre-training the model itself with your own enterprise data, so that that model is highly specific to that enterprise or industry, and we call it novellas. So that is something that I've found very interesting. And I'm working with partners, so they're asking a lot of questions about how can we build a model which is specific to financial industry or manufacturing industry, right? I think this can be a real game changer, as long as building the industry specific models are concerned.
Yeah, no, I think you had a really good point there. That was definitely one of the highlight announcements, key announcements coming out of reInvent with Nova Forge, and how that makes it so much more easy for our customers to go to adapt a model to their data and to their environment, as you mentioned, their industry. So very interested to see how in early 2026 how customers start leveraging Nova Forge and how that really transforms the customization element of these models. So stay tuned for those launches. And I know we had some great launch partners talking about some of the work that they're doing. So can't wait to see what else folks are doing at Nova Forge. But that was just one of the many announcements that we had coming out of reInvent, and also throughout. This is kind of the recap of 2025 as we're talking about here. This is the last episode of AI Live for the year, I believe. So that's why we had to all come in person, all come together and have one big party before we round out the year. So Brian, did you see any other good announcements throughout 2025, or maybe even as recently as reInvent?
Yeah. So one of the things that I got announced by the CloudFormation team is we deployed a new MCP server that combines the CDK and also kind of helps you create CloudFormation templates better. It also kind of diagnosed your stack failures, and that was released on the week of reInvent. So I'm super proud about that, because I actually kind of helped with that, and I wrote a blog. So I'll put a link here so you can actually take a look at the blog. But it's going to be a very useful tool for our partners and our customers, I think.
What was that tool called? What was the name of that?
Yeah, so it's the new CloudFormation MCP server. So
okay.
I'll post a link here in that thing. And we released it at reInvent, so maybe it got caught in a lot of the noise with reInvent's been released, but it's definitely a great new MCP server. And it does more than just help you create CloudFormation templates. It helps diagnose those stacks and those stack failures. So it's kind of DevOps in a box. So.
I definitely could have used that prior to the announcement of that. So, good to be forward looking, but Brian, where were you 2 years ago when I was stuck on my CloudFormation templates?
I don't know. Like everyone else, stuck.
Yeah, no, there's definitely been a lot of great MCP announcements and AWS MCP servers. I was actually just setting up my Kiro IDE with that earlier this week, with all the different ones. So there's like diagrams and a lot of great tools that you can leverage to enhance your experience with developing. Wayne, have you set up any MCP servers? You have a favorite of the AWS variety?
I'm using the core MCP servers a lot, but what I've actually found is I've been starting to use Kiro, not just. I'm going to branch off of the MPC server conversation a tiny bit. Like I've been using Kiro to do sort of the bread and butter architecture development work. But then the other week I needed to brainstorm more of a process problem that was not really development related. Like there was never going to be any code written. And I was like, I'm kind of curious to see how Kiro helps me with this. And actually it was unbelievably easy to do. So I just created a new project, and I was like, okay, let's work through this mechanism that I'm trying to understand the edge cases for. And so I had Kiro sort of build out some different scenarios, and I fed it my process. And I was like, okay, let's go test these hypotheses. I want to see where my mechanism breaks based on these hypothetical examples. And it was wildly powerful. I sort of knew in my head that it was going to work just fine, but then actually doing it was just shocking. So that was my like personal mission of self-discovery. It was really cool.
Yeah, and speaking about MCP and Kiro together, and as we all know that ever since MCP was announced, it almost became viral. That there's so many MCPs exist in the market today compared to what they were at the time of launch, almost a year back. But we also know that MCPs, while they solve so much of challenges which previously existed in terms of connecting the model with the tool, they also bring some challenges in terms of, so for example, if you're loading 5 MCP servers, then essentially you have kind of loaded all the tools which are defined in that MCP server at once, and that starts consuming the tokens even while you have return your first prompt, right? So this year, what we announced is something called as Kiro Powers, right? Not Kiro Powers, and I really like the example which is given on the website. Think of it like you are new in the Matrix movie. Those who have seen the movie, they will probably know. You load the program for martial arts, and suddenly you become the martial art expert. So Kiro Powers is essentially the same, right? So it loads the MCP depending on the context that you're using, the prompt for. So, for example, if you're designing something in Figma, then it will load only the MCP server, Figma MCP server, right? Whereas if you want to store some data, and data will deactivate the Figma MCP server and activate the database server. So that again, Hero went viral. I would say viral, right? Because it became very popular within the developer community, and just like Hero and MCP, a lot of interest. I'm seeing in the space of Kiro Powers as well. So Kiro's awesome IDE MCP is powerful, kind of protocol to connect the tools and MCP tools and models together. Kiro Powers is taking it to the whole new level. So that was another interesting announcement that I found.
Yes, that was a big one. We have a really good question. It's going to be like, this is a stump the host question because it's impossible to answer from a guest. What do we think is the most significant event in AI for the year? This is a very challenge. Like, I don't know how anybody could possibly answer this, but I already know how I would answer it.
I'd like to go first. I think one of the most significant things that happened, it was AWS creating the building blocks at Agent Core for like these agents. So essentially, AWS created this awesome platform and these building blocks in order for you to build these extremely powerful agents, which is Agent Core. And it's been very popular and it's continued to grow. So I think that was a significant launch by AWS this year.
Well, Brian, you wanted to go first so you could steal the thunder. That was a good one. Hard one to follow up. I'd say for me, I was actually just reading and coming off the topic of MCP, significant announcement, even broader than AWS, was the announcement of MCP being donated to the Linux Foundation, and that actually spun up a whole different wing called the Agentic AI Foundation. So underneath the Linux Foundation, just from the MCP and a few other founding members, OpenAI and I believe Block, they made a new foundation to open source and prove agents going forward. So great to see that. It's always been kind of like an open source protocol, but to see it now being donated to the Linux Foundation, so it stays that way, and it really just helps with the acceleration of agentic workflows and continuing to develop those open source protocols around agents. So love to see that. That was definitely a big announcement that just happened, I think, like a week or two ago. So love to see that.
Good one.
Yeah. And I will also say that, the Strands agent, which was another contribution from AWS to the open source community, and it's really making it so much easier for the developers to make these, these agents. And now these Strands agents are now, available on the edge as well. So you might think of the use cases like robotics, gaming, end user devices. Now you're bringing those agentic AI capabilities to the edge. So that's another exciting, not really announcement, the thing which happened throughout the year. That's I find it quite exciting as well. Obviously, MCPs were the thing, and yeah.
Good one.
Wayne, we saved the best for last. What did you take? Hard
so
to follow.
I I think there's two. I'll answer this two ways. So the first one, I think, from AWS perspective, I think Project Rainier is super cool, right? Like the massive data center. Because one of the things that like I think I come from I'm old enough to come from a world of like you had to buy stuff in the old days, right? Like real physical things that got plugged into sockets and stuff and set on raised floors and have fire suppressant systems, and like we forget about the like logistical miracle that it is to put together a massive supercompute cluster. Like just the activity of the land and the space, and the building, the cooling, the power, the resources, the humans, the thinking, all of that. And to me, like the fact that AWS can sort of pivot so quickly and just like and make that happen is a testament to like countless human beings, like expertise and hard work. And that is just always like I think is just super cool. And then on the other side, I would say like more generically, I think DeepSeek coming out, like just shaking, like that was that moment where people were like, holy moly. It's not just it's like this thing is now democratized. There are other ways to do it. We can shake up the industry kind of out of nowhere. And then how fast AWS not just pivoted, how fast AWS is like, yep, we can bring this into Bedrock, kind of showed the proof of the way that AWS was approaching the model space as like flexible and choice driven. To me, that was also like a kind of a pivotal moment in the AI story of 2025.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of Bedrock. Like you, as a customer of Bedrock, you won't feel left behind if there's something new novel thing that comes up in the market like DeepSeek. And we now support open ChatGPT open weight models as well on Bedrock. So choice is what you get when you are with AWS and Bedrock.
Yeah. No, that's a great point.
I think it was 10 days, right? I think it took us 10 days, plus or minus one or something, right? To go from nobody has heard of DeepSeek to it's available on Bedrock.
Yeah, I mean, in those 10 days, there was a lot of shaking going on, right? Like I know for my customers, as soon as it was dropped and people were testing it out and seeing the capabilities of it, they're already asking day 3, right, when it was going to be released. And it was great to see the quick turnaround to see how we got that model from, standalone to now having that as a model provider on AWS. And as you mentioned, Parajat, I think that is one of the great beauties of Bedrock is just how many models you have available, and we're always adding more, right? Like I think just a couple of weeks ago we added another 18 open weight models. So there's always going to be choice. So no matter where you're building, what you're trying to do, there's a model that'll fit your needs and help you continue to develop where you need to. So I love to see that with Bedrock and our methodology towards the AI marketplace.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have a bonus too. The bonus two are our partners. For all our partners that have been on the show throughout the whole year, we think that you guys are awesome. Thank you. It was definitely significant for you guys to be here and talk about your solutions and talk about everything you were doing. Super cool with AWS. So that's number one. And number two is the audience. Thank you guys for viewing us the whole year and listening to us talk about the greatest and latest and greatest in AI. And I hope you enjoyed it. And please keep coming back. We love doing this. We love talking to customers and we love talking to you because we are a live show. So please post your comments. We love you all.
Yeah.
Couldn't say better myself, Brian. You're it there, right?
In like meaningful fact, we would definitely not be here without an audience. So like yes, thank you. You make the show as much as we make the show, probably more so.
Exactly.
So we have a couple questions that are kind of coming through, and like I'm gonna like bundle them into one, which is like the developer experience. I think we've seen a big transition this year in the way that the developers can approach these tools, like what Kiro has done, how we're thinking about like the future of development. Now with the Kira autonomous agent, the frontier agents. So I'll bring it to the group here. Like, where do we think the future? I don't want to like speculate on like specific product features because I don't know, and it would be kind of silly to try. But where do we think it's going for developers? The developer experience.
I would like to weigh in on that. So, as a formal DevOps engineer, I think the next evolution will be moving into operations. For our DevOps engineer partners and the customers, do you know those guys that write YAML and help with deployments and stuff? AI will be the next step in helping you do deployments better, creating those Kubernetes manifests, creating those infrastructure as code, detecting failures. So I think more and more as these developer tools come out to target developers, we'll see it helping ops people with those day-to-day operations of keeping these applications running. So now you'll be DevOps, you'll be AI ops and operation ops, so and SecOps. So I think a lot of those tooling will move towards you guys and help you guys like relieve pain in trying to keep those systems running.
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of people who will be happy to not have a pager page them at 3 in the morning.
Yes, yes. I'm looking at those guys.
And I look at it as that, it's now going to become more and more outcome driven, right? So that this is the goal that you want to achieve between where you are and your goal, whatever is the undifferentiated heavy lifting, that is all getting done by these agents, right? So for example, Kiro, now all you need to do is to have that functional requirement in your mind while the actual execution is being done by that code, right? And obviously, being an experienced developer, you know what's right or wrong. Although, Kiro is getting closer to the point where it produces the output which you originally intended to, to produce, right? So that's what I think, like, as a developer, or in fact, or as anybody, right? So the gap between what you want to do and what the goal, that is getting reduced, right? So you're focusing, more on the innovation, more, more on outcomes versus how do you get to those outcomes.
Yeah, my deep intuition, my hunch is like that the path will be very unique and personalized by individual in some ways. I was talking with some folks at reInvent, and to a person, they all said the same thing, which is like some developers prefer A, and some developers prefer IDE, some developers prefer CLI, some developers prefer a sidecar agent, some developers and they all said the same thing, which was like, we don't think that it really matters, actually. Like, there's a preference, and that's cool. Like, however people want to make use of these tools, and it fits their workflow, and it fits how they have their minds process these, these like the problems that they're trying to face. They're trying to like write code for. It's cool, whatever it is. So I think there's going to be like an infinite number of paths, one per person, more or less.
I mean, there's always been paths, right? Like in the development space, there's always been options for you to choose what's your preferred programming language and different elements of IDE, right? So just seeing, I definitely think that will maintain, but really the agility element, as we kind of all touched on, was making it easier to go from concept to minimum viable product to production is going to be so much quicker, right? So I love to see how that's been adapting, and looking forward to seeing what's to come in 2026 with that as well.
Yeah, it's been a really valuable learning tool for me. So like when I started development, my first language was actually C and then C++. So like these are different, like, right? Okay. So when I sat down and I was like, I'd really like to like get my head around Python to a better extent than I already had. I was like, okay, well, hey, Kiro, like I know C and C++ actually pretty well. Like with that knowledge in mind, like help me master Python. And actually it was really effective. No, I'm not a master of Python, but like rather than like what I would have in the old days done, which was like go get a physical book from Amazon. And I would have been like, all right, let me go look at the libraries. Let me go look at these. This is that. So it was just like a much quicker and actually a lot more pleasurable experience.
Yeah, I'm a curmudgeon. I'm like, I love Go. I'm gonna continue to write Go. If I have to write Python, I'll write it in Go and tell it to translate it to Python. So thank you, AI. So.
Yeah, I see it as like more power to the developers. So you can ship features faster and be a hero in your team.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we got just a few minutes left on this first segment of AI Live. So as you know, as we're wrapping up 2025, I'd love to also look forward into 2026. I know none of us have a crystal ball, but I'm curious on, what are your all's perspectives on what's to come in the new year?
Good question.
I'll start us off because I've been thinking about this for a while. So
okay.
All right. So to give you time to cook on that, one of the things that I see, so if we see, let's say 2024 was LLMs, foundation models, and the advancement of those. 2025 was the year of agents, definitely a lot of advancements on the agent side of things. Now, I'm making a hot take here on AI Live, but I believe 2026 is the year of the Android. So, hey, here we go. We go from agents. Now we're gonna mesh it together with human life beings and see how that goes. So hey, it's an early speculation here, but with way things are going, who knows, that may be the reality as we round out 2026. So
are you thinking more Wall-E or are you thinking more Terminator 2? Because I definitely not sure
more
that either one is exactly where I want to go.
Be able to see things, get my my smart glasses, all that Android capabilities. So
Yeah, and I think one interesting resource to refer to would be the top five tech predictions from our CTO Werner Vogels that he made as prior to the reinvent. So yeah, it has some predictions coming from our CTO. So I think that would be worthwhile to check out.
Yeah.
So I think the 2026 is going to be like where agents actually become agentic, like have agency rather. Let me say it that way. Like what I've seen a lot this year is constrained agentic workflows. Like, so this is what I did. I'm going to build an agent to basically do what I did. And it's going to have the ability to like reason through edge cases. So I don't have to be as narrow as it's not like RPA, but it's kind of like RPA. And I think 2026 is going to be a year where we kind of unleash the agents and take off the guardrails in some cases and say, okay, agent, like you're not a human. Maybe you would do this completely differently than me. What would you do? And I think we're going to be surprised at how non-optimized we assumed that our very optimized capabilities were.
So this is going to be a hot take, but I think this is where it's going to go. I think the last few years, we've all kind of playing with AI and creating agentic agents and using chatbots and things. I think the next evolution will be some kind of governance and control. Specifically, we'll be looking at how to reduce hallucinations by using things like automated reasoning and taking some of these non-deterministic paths out of AI and making them deterministic and moving to kind of an enterprise grade AI is what I call it, the next evolution. Stay tuned.
That, by the way, when I've spoken with enterprises who have like really made big strides doing important like mission critical things, one of the first things that they said was they really figured out what action needed to remain deterministic, and they took that away from agents. Which I just like. It's kind of weird to say that in the context of of AI Live, but I think it makes a really valid point. Like if something needs to be deterministic, then don't use probabilistic technologies.
Absolutely. I think they'll be somehow trying to figure that out and try to rein that in a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Stay tuned into the new year as you see these predictions play out, right? So hold us to it. Would love to see that. Brian Parajat, it was great syncing with you on the last episode of AI Live for 2025. Look forward to seeing you both in 2026 as we kick off the new year. But that's it for our first segment. And we will be back with our second segment and one of our partners here to round off the episode. So stay tuned as we come back with our partners. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, welcome back, folks. Welcome to AI Live, the partner show, one of the AWS partner live shows here we have at AWS. And today we've already had our first segment, which was great to see. Wayne, it was great to be back with you as well as our other co-host. But before we get into segment 2, we'll go ahead and give another quick round of introductions for those just tuning in. My name is Dalian Ayekpour. I'm a senior technical account manager here at AWS, and I'm excited to see what our partners are doing in the space. Wayne, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Wayne Sachs. I am a partner solutions architecture leader here at AWS, and thanks for the kind introduction. It's always great to be here. That last segment was super fun because we've never had all 4 of us on the screen at once. But I bet that at least the audience is going to appreciate the second segment more because we actually get to talk to our real partners who are doing really cool stuff in the space. That to me is like the best part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely good to recap with our fellow co-hosts there on our first segment. So if you missed out on that, be sure to watch it. We have this episode on demand on Twitch and the other platforms we're streaming from. But don't go there yet because we still have a great segment coming up with one of our partners. As you mentioned, Wayne, our partners here at AWS really keep us moving, and they're really the people that are on the front lines helping customers, evolving those solutions, and really get solving a lot of those complex challenges. So love to get in to see how they're influencing their customers and ours to make more operational things and continue to be better and move faster. So without further ado, you think we should invite
I think we should.
our guests?
I think we should. I'm excited. Hey, Caleb. Hey, Robbie. Good to see you. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Hi, everyone. This is Ravi. I am the head of solutions engineering at Scale, and I have the opportunity to work with a lot of enterprise customers on their Gen AI's, implementations. Caleb.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Nice to meet you. My name is Caleb, senior solution engineer here at Scale AI, but also like Robbie, working with a lot of our enterprise customers and really excited to be on the show today and walk you through kind of a live demo.
Awesome. So why don't you give us I mean, we actually know, but like give our audience a little bit of a grounding in what Scale AI does and maybe like a little bit of why you do it. Like what was the core like origin story, that moment where you're like, we need Scale AI because there's a real need.
Sure. I can take that. So it depends on when you ask this question, right? So 10 years ago, when the company was started, the intention was to help these frontier model companies with developing these state-of-the-art models. And obviously, these models can't run by themselves. They need to learn. For that, they need data, and that's where Scale used to help. But over time, it evolved. Then we saw an increased need in different sides of the business, and Scale also tried to adapt to these changing environments. So most recently, and specifically, the focus of today's session is going to be around enterprise applications and how Scale is helping. So yeah, when we jump into the segment, obviously, I'm happy to walk into the details.
Awesome. No, that's great. So, so tell us a little bit about, within the context of enterprise applications then, like where's your focus? Because obviously enterprise applications is it's pretty wide space.
Yeah. So in terms of enterprise applications, so just to take a step back, right? So when we were helping these model builders, specifically around making sure that their models evolve over time, we are also trying to understand where they're lacking in terms of the model's performance, and based on understanding that, then we try to help them with improving their model's performance. So we are considered as a neutral thought leader for all these model providers on coming up with these evaluation metrics, coming up with these leaderboards that help them to understand where their models stack against all other model builders out there. And one thing that we've learned through that process is there are also similar problems that enterprise companies are facing, where they are not able to adapt these generic models to solve their company specific business problems, because each company does things in a different way. They have their own secret sauce. That's the reason they are in the business even today. So we want to capture that, the subject matter feedback, that tribal knowledge, and add that flavor back to the model that we leverage, and give the output that they're expecting it to look like. So it doesn't have to be specific, like it it falls for all the enterprise customers out there. Whoever needs that needs that human expertise to be captured and added back to the answers of these models. That's where we come in and we help them to achieve that.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things that'll help make this even more real is I think you had some slides that we could walk through with our audience to kind of visualize what's going on, as well as followed by a demo. So stay tuned for that. But I think you touched on some great points. Evaluation. If you're starting with models and if you're not understanding how your prompts or your responses are getting better, you're really just throwing stuff at the wall, because if you don't have a metric to grade and continue to evolve that, so that's great to see that when enterprises are starting to develop that, as well as understand how to get those models to perform better as well. So love to see how Scale AI actually makes that a reality for the customers.
Awesome. Yeah, happy to share that information with the broader audience here. And this also, while we are sharing it, like, this also connects back to the points that the team was discussing, just before this show, right? It connects back to what's going to happen next year. Is in next year, the focus is going to be not just deploying agents, but an agent that could understand their business problem in the way that that company solves it. Adding that back into the solution and giving it as if their own SME has done the work. That's going to be the key focus for the next couple of years, and that's where Scale helps.
Yeah. Should we bring up the slides? I think I can do that. Yeah, did it.
Awesome.
I didn't do
Yeah.
anything. Magic. That must be an agent in the background. Or
yeah. So again, this is what I was talking about. So Scale AI, we are trusted as a thought leader, neutral thought leader for all these leading model providers. And we used to partner with them for AI data, and we have these evaluation and leaderboards that help them rate these models, and we help them to to increase the model performance as they need. But again, one thing that is missing in that topic is, like, we are not just helping model providers now. We want to focus around like enterprise applications. So when we started looking into what is happening in the enterprise world, we're noticing that the biggest risk is these enterprise companies, they can't just adopt a vanilla model, right out of the box. It has to be set in a certain way that it could help them solve their business case. And one thing that we are noticing is, off platform, a lot of these SMEs are using these tools. Sometimes customers say, oh, we are offering these tools for our customers, for our employees. But the goal is, are we capturing, is the company capturing that what they are searching for? And in terms of helping them to improve their performance. For example, if your employee is searching for, hey, I want to analyze this 1,000-page document on 10K, and I want you to analyze, and that SME might be doing it in one particular way. And if they are leveraging AI, is the company capturing all those traces, all that information? So you could improve the same SME's performance, so they don't have to prompt it again and again. Because now if you understand how they work, you can you can capture that and tweak it as part of their future prompts as well, so that you could minimize this prompt and getting the response and asking questions again, follow-up questions, XYZ. So we want to minimize all of that stuff. And the second challenge that we are noticing is a lot of IP is missing. That is the thing that I'm talking about. When SMEs are chatting with these models, they need to understand what they're asking and how they're working, right? That is a company's own IP. And that is not being captured right now by these enterprises. And finally, if you have a centralized, governed enterprise platform where you could keep control of the data and how their SMEs feedback is captured, what the traces are. If you have all of that in a centralized repository, that's a lot of information. That's your own subject matter experts information. If you capture that, you would be able to improve the performance of these agents. And what we have done is, once we understood these challenges, the company has decided, it's like there's a lot of scope here and a lot of these enterprises need help. And most recently, the focus of scale, again, to help you understand the scale at which we are operating, we changed our mission statement. Our new mission statement is to develop these reliable AI systems for the world's most important decisions, just to show the seriousness on how important it is for us at this point to help these enterprises. And to do this, we have to develop these reliable and impactful AI systems. It could be done only by understanding and offering these services, technology, and research. Again, you need all these three together. I've seen customers talk about, oh, we have services, we have technology, we have research. But having all these three together is actually the key to solving these business problems. And again,
real quick, before you continue,
yes.
Ravi, I did want to touch on something that you had on one of the previous slides, and I think this is super important for companies to understand: is if your users are using segmented or their own AI platforms, you're missing out on so much opportunity to improve a system that makes everything better as well, right? So if you have a platform, if you empower your employees to have, a productionized or a company enterprise level AI system, it makes not only their experience better, but also helps you retain your IP, helps you move forward and make those responses even better. So I think that was just something I wanted to double tap on before you continued on with service technology and research. I think that was a really good point.
Exactly. Yeah. And just to make sure, it's like that's where the scale and AWS partner comes into picture, right?
Mhm.
So the platform that we have works with, it could be deployed inside AWS VPC. It sits inside your own customer's VPC. Again, there are other options as well, but the most common is deploying inside customer's VPC. And it can talk to your existing databases. It can talk to, like, let's say you already built some agents, it could still talk to that, and you still need to capture those traces. So I'm jumping ahead of myself there, but I'll cover that as well. So again, just going back to the services, technology, and research, a quick overview, right? In terms of services, we have our own teams that come in, like these are forward deploy engineers, we have product managers, we have engagement managers. Again, these are people from ex-McKinsey, BCG, and people, forward deploy engineers, and some of these researchers are from leading institutes out there, and they come in and they help you understand the business problem, and then implement it, and then make sure that you see the value out of that solution. Again, we are completely driven by what is the impact that we show. We want to make sure it's like we show that impact as quickly as we can, and then make sure the customer is satisfied at the end, and then drive more and more use cases around that initial solution. So in terms of services, we have custom AI application builds. We also have red teaming. This is where when customers build these AI applications, we want to break it, and we want to show if there are any vulnerabilities inside these applications. We also offer human evaluations and the ground truth data sets. This is the historical scale legacy, and this is evaluation data sets will help you evaluate the outcome. A lot of enterprises, they don't know how to evaluate the applications. So we come in, we can help you with how to evaluate the performance of your applications and increase the performance of that. And jumping into the technology, this is the platform. There is a ScaleGen AI platform. Think of it more as a framework, as you see. And basically, it is where you capture the traces, you capture the feedback from the SMEs, and you put that back into the agent to improve the performance over time. All of that is done automatically. Again, you can put a human in the loop there so that once you feel more confident, then you can deploy an improved agent back into the production system. And finally, the research. I can't emphasize this enough. A lot of solutions lack this, and this is where scale adds the significant value. And we have our own research lab, we have a SEAL team, and we have applied ML research teams that actually come in. And these are the, again, just keep in mind, these are the teams that help build these leaderboards and evaluations that are measuring the frontier models. So we have these research teams that help to understand how the leading research in the field can be applied back into enterprise applications. You know, at the end of the day, the research is only helpful if it's of value to these enterprise customers, right? So that's what our research team is focused on, is the value generation to enterprise customers. Again, I won't go into the details here, but you have seen the MIT study. A lot of you have heard the headlines. 80% of companies are using Gen AI, but 95% report no bottom line impact. And what is the reason for this? Again, when we understand it, this is actually pointing to the underlying loopholes and where the process is failing. You know, we are seeing customers building agents. They're prototypes, but they're difficult to deploy for a production grade applications. And we are seeing there is a failure to integrate these agents together. Our SMEs in real world, they interact with each other. That's how we work as humans. So the agents, if we want to help these SMEs work better, then you want these agents to also communicate better, right? And there is losing relevance over time. This is what I'm talking about, the traces and capturing the feedback. Over time, things change. As humans, we learn. How do the agents learn? How do we give that data to the agents so that they could learn? And that's where the scales up. We call it a scale shaped problem. Whenever we jump in to solve these business applications and solve them, we approach it with, we just don't want to build prototypes. We want to build a production grade applications. And we want to.
On that note, I wanted to mention, so you brought up that statistic on the last slide. How is scale, right? Like, I imagine you're trying to not have issues with 80% of companies failing or not going to production with these. How is scale, or how have you seen your customers, like the ones that do come to you and leverage your platform and the data that you're providing? How often do you have any metrics off those? I know I'm bombarding you with that, but do you have any data on what that looks like for your customers?
Yeah, I'm happy to share that actually. Seth, I'll hold off for few minutes, and then I have a slide at the end to talk about that. So, and again, at the end, we also want to refine the agents and show a continuous improvement and constant rebuilds. So again, on a high level, this is how the agent execution happens. A lot of customers are focused on building the agents. We want to show you that the lot of value add is around the tracing and evaluation. We call it as agent ops, you know. So the top, I call it as like the doer. Okay, we are building agents, but we need to understand how they are pulling the information. That's what I call as a watcher. And there is also judge agents that you could leverage to understand if they are pulling the information right, if the analysis is right. So again, the key is, how do you leverage these three things together to build a good enterprise applications? The doers, the watchers, and the traders.
I do have a question though, because every time we run it, I see something like this. I always think to myself, do we have like an infinitely recursive set of doers, watchers, and graders? Like, do we need to watch the watcher and grade the grader, and then, you know, like until we've reached the middle of the earth? Like,
exactly.
How do we know when to stop?
Yes, that's where the research teams comes in, right? So again, we will get to a point where there is a diminishing returns, right? So we don't want to go into this continuous loop of where, you know, there is like not any significant returns, then it doesn't make any sense to, you know. So we often use like thresholds. Once it meets that levels, then it makes sense to stop it there. So
and then do we like give them midterm exams and like finals, like at the end of the year, maybe like, you know, brush back up.
The grader in there, you know, you only
does the agent like get their master's degree and walk down the aisle and flip their tassel across their cap and all that?
That's actually a great analogy, right? So that's what I talk to when I talk to customers. Like, you need to think about these agents as interns. When they come in, obviously they don't have good idea about the business flow or how the company runs their business process. An intern learns through that, right? As a new joinee, people learn through that and they adapt to it. You need to make sure the agents also do that. If you give them a level playing field, then they will also learn. So we just need to make sure we get there, and that's what the scale platform does.
So now we don't have a ton of time, and I do want to make sure that we
Yes.
get a chance to actually see the scale platform in action.
Exactly.
And these,
Yes.
it always takes more time than we imagine. So why don't we,
Yes.
if you will, would we be willing to like show us the real stuff?
Demo.
Yes. Caleb, do you want to quickly walk us through the demo?
Yeah, definitely. So I will try to be conscious of time here, squeeze it all into 9 minutes, but want to kind of bring what Ravi was saying to life. So we'll walk through kind of end to end what it's like to build agents using this framework that Ravi was talking about, right? So the technology and kind of the exact process that our MLEs use when building these enterprise grade agents in partnership with our customers. So we'll spend most of our time talking about the tooling, but just to ground us a little bit, we'll start in kind of an example application. This might be something we develop with a customer of ours or a partner of ours. But then we'll kind of talk a little bit through how do we build these agents using our Agentics framework, which, by the way, now is open source as of about a month ago. So highly recommend everyone kind of check it out and let us know your thoughts. And then we'll kind of navigate into the SGP platform. This is more of the traditional kind of agent ops tooling, like tracing and evals. How do we actually monitor and improve our application over time? So the specific case we're going to be walking through is in the insurance subrogation space. It's a mouthful, but basically what it is once a payment is paid out in the insurance space, the insurance company has to go chase down the liable party to actually to get the money themselves. For this demo, we have 4 different agents. Each agent at its core is just Python code. And all of these agents are working in tandem and deployed using our Agentics framework. So at its core, each agent is just code, your model calls, your prompts, all of that is wrapped in Python code. And we use our Agentics framework to actually push it up onto SGP. And our Agentics framework or toolkit can integrate with GitHub action pipelines, whatever repo you have set up to actually kind of make that process easier. So we have 4 different agents. And then once we kind of get into the SGP side of things, we'll talk through the tooling we have there to monitor and improve those agents. I will flash the UI, that's example application, just to make it a bit more real. Again, we have 4, I pre-ran this here. I uploaded a claim. We have 4 agents here on the left. that are kind of processing this claim, enriching the case. And ultimately what this produces is a letter that you or I receive as a liable third party, chasing us down and kind of shaking us for the money we owe. One thing a user can do, and we typically find this very helpful in our applications, is provide feedback directly. And this is feedback can kind of help us understand as developers what areas of the application or what areas of the agent we need to actually improve. So all of these agents, this is now flipping into the SGP kind of side of things. All the agents are live on the platform. So you can see here's our 4 agents. These match up with what was over here. And this is where we as developers, as experts can start to kind of get more visibility into what's going on with our agents. How are they processing kind of the user's queries? So I'm going to go ahead and click into this admin agent and talk a little bit through kind of the Agentics framework.
Can you zoom in a little bit, Caleb?
Yes, certainly. So I've clicked into our admin agent. And like I was mentioning earlier, all of these agents are just code at their core. I won't necessarily go into how we push that code up through GitHub and it lands on the SGP platform. We do have a multitude of open source kind of resources available that demonstrate that process, and I highly encourage you all to check it out. But this kind of view gives you that visibility and that understanding that at its core, all of these changes are just code. So if I, as a developer, wanted to change a prompt, for example, and maybe make that demand letter a little bit better, I would just go into my code, my agent, make a change. In this case, I'm adding, a requirements list to make it a little bit more clear for the user what we're requesting. And then I would push that code up through GitHub and deploy it onto SGP. So you can see here all of the past changes I've made and the version that is currently active. So that starts to give you that like developer view of being able to make and change and push changes really quickly, test things out.
But where it really starts to become powerful is once you actually get this in front of users, we can start to use and view those traces to understand how our users are interacting with the application and how it's performing. So I'm going to go ahead and click into one kind of trace here. Again, this is just one example. You can see our 4 agents on the left. We can kind of click into specific parts of the traces themselves to get more information. In this case, I've asked it to regenerate the letter, add a requirement section, make it a little bit more obvious what it is that we're requesting. And these traces can actually start to serve as the basis for future improvements, right? So if we think of developers, this gives them visibility, but they can also start to identify, areas where, the agent is underperforming. So maybe here the user has to ask too often to incorporate feedback, or maybe the agent's not actually incorporating that feedback correctly. So your developers can start to download this trace data and then use it to set up evaluations, right? So this is where we're going from live monitoring to how do we actually ensure an agent's performance before we put it in front of end users, right? How do we kind of codify those sets of things that we want to constantly evaluate? And for that, just being conscious of time here, 3 minutes left, I'll try to rapid fire through this. For that, we have a pretty robust evaluation suite. So if we think about evaluations, it's primarily, a couple of things you have to set up. You have to set up the evaluation data set, which are your test cases, and then what it is that you actually want to evaluate and how do you want to evaluate it, right? Do you want to use an LLM as a judge or a human reviewer or a combination of the two? So here we have kind of an evaluation data set. These are some evaluations that I've already run. Again, each row here is just a test case. This is dealing with that same feedback mechanism of the admin agent itself, right? We have an original letter, we have some user feedback, we have a candidate output, right? We've made a change to our agent, and this is what our agent is now outputting. How can we actually start to understand, is that change effective? So to do that, we can create an evaluation. I won't walk through the entire workflow right now, but I've set up 2 here that consist of both an LLM as a judge and human reviewers, right? So as we scroll to the right, you can kind of start to see some of the feedback we're getting. And if we go to the overview of one specific evaluation, you'll see kind of we have an LLM as a judge running and a human reviewer running in parallel. And we can kind of compare these metrics across runs, right? So we can compare this with a prior version of the evaluation and start to get a sense of, is that change that we made actually improving our agent performance? So in the case here, our V1, our improved agent, is actually showing performance across key evaluation areas. And just really quickly to tap on what it is your human annotators might see when they come into the platform to evaluate is we have kind of, a screen for them to kind of come in and label the evaluations themselves, right? So we have user feedback, an original letter, a revised letter, some additional information, and the human reviewer job would be to come into the platform and provide their expertise. So this is where it becomes super valuable, like Robbie was saying, capturing that IP that lives in your SMEs heads and using it to, 1, evaluate our application, but 2, actually improve it going forward. So I know I kind of wrapped up through that.
No, you did. That was an impressive. That was an impressive
speed run.
9-minute. Because obviously this took a huge amount of work to build this, and does a ton of stuff, and you did a great job boiling it to its essence. And we have 1 minute, and so I'm gonna say thank you to our friends at Scale AI. This is really cool. Like, it is so impressive to watch what you have done. Like, obviously you've made a big difference to the industry, benchmarks, like this work. You guys are impressive, and we love working with you. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, check out the links for if you want to learn more about Scale AI, and hopefully we'll see you guys again in 2026 to see what else you guys are doing. Thank you for your time, folks. We'll catch you next time.
Absolutely.